And so what I thought is for this personal story time, we're going to have two facets of it. I'd love to hear a fun, entertaining story about one of your pets. And I'd also like to know who your favorite fictional pet is.
Ooh.
So there's a lot of really good fictional pets out there.
There are. Hmm.
So
Well, I would say it was not fun at the time, but it is funny to think about now. My cat, Miko, who's my little orange shadow. Okay, he
now,
follows me everywhere.
real quick, you've mentioned Miko before, and I thought of it before, and I didn't ask. Is it named after the raccoon from Pocahontas?
He is. He is. He when he was a kitten, he used to steal shiny things. And that is where his name came from was from
Valid.
that because Miko used to steal shiny things in Pocahontas. So.
Now, I I'm going to interrupt you just briefly one more time. When I
Hmm.
was younger, I had a pet raccoon
Hmm.
for a few months. It
Nice.
it got taken by a game warden,
Oh.
and
Mm.
I I wish I could. My parents are both gone. I wish I could ask them for confirmation now that I'm older. But what we were told was that, and again, this might be a we sent the dog to the farm. My guess is
Mm.
that
Mm.
our raccoon Rocky was put down. Is my guess. But what we were
Most
told
likely.
is that our raccoon was given to Disney to be one of the live animal models, which had some bit of credibility at the time because during that time frame they would have been working on Pocahontas. So
Oh.
if my parents were not sugarcoating it and actually telling the truth, then my raccoon may have been one of the artists, one of the actual live animals that the artist used for Miko.
Oh, that's cool.
That would be
That's
cool.
awesome.
But anyway, continue.
Yeah.
Tell me about your cat, Miko.
Well, Miko is always follows me around, and he, in typical orange cat fashion, loves food. Okay, so
Mm.
always comes around. If you shake the food container, he's there. So anyway, one morning I was getting up, I was getting ready to go into the office, and Miko wasn't there. I didn't think too much of it at the time, but I go to feed my cats their breakfast, and Miko doesn't come out, which of course my heart like out of my
Yeah.
chest, immediate worry, call him. And I was at my living with my mom at the time, and we um my immediate thought was Miko got out, which Miko does not like to leave. He doesn't it's an apartment complex. He does not like to step out into the hall. He has no desire to be a wildcat. Um
Hmm.
he was born as a wildcat, and he's like, "Nope, I'm indoors now, never going back out there again." Um so I go, it's the winter time, so I go knocking on all the my apartment neighbors' doors. It's like 7 a.m. Have you seen an orange cat anywhere? Like, I'm distraught. I go across the street to the dry cleaners thinking maybe he's there. He's not coming out anywhere. So I call out because I am so upset with my cat's gone.
Yeah.
Lay down on the couch. Um, finally fall asleep. Um, and apparently my other cat Merlin went into my mom's den. And he comes out after a little while, and my mom's uh, sitting there in her room, and she can see the den. And all of a sudden, she goes, "Miko." Miko's here. Miko. He wedged himself behind the. She has these bookcases, and she had a speaker that was on sitting on one of the bookcases, and somehow my very wide cat managed to wedge himself behind the speaker perfectly so that the speaker didn't look like it was out of place, but he was back there, and apparently he thought he was in trouble because he refused to come out, the little stinker. And it's just like, I remember, like, like being so distraught at the time, thinking my cat that would never leave the house. Like, I can't carry him out of the house without him throwing a fit and fighting me, would have gotten out. And so it's just like, come on, kitty cat. The only other funny story I have about him is when he was a kitten, somehow he managed to wedge himself under the dresser of my house. And it was like a built-in dresser, and he couldn't get himself out. And that was, I don't even remember how I eventually got him out, but somehow he got himself out, and that was, again, at the time, extremely worrying. But eventually, yeah, he's chaos. Chaos incarnate.
Oh man, we got a couple of comments here from a random kid in the chat. Your raccoon went to the great Disney studio in the sky. Talking about
With Rocket.
Yep. My raccoon was named Rocky, actually.
No, but with Rocket Raccoon,
Yep.
from Marvel. Yep.
And then he also says Miko went full Garfield. So I guess
he would
house cat.
Yeah, he would love to be Garfield. If I would let him, he would be, a 30-pound cat. He loves red sauce and cheese and everything cats aren't supposed to eat. That Garfield loves. I think that's his aspiration. Garfield is his hero.
There you go. All right, Shannon, what do you got for us?
So I had a dog. Her name was Margaret. That was her formal name, was Margaret. But I called her Maggie sometimes, because most of the time I called her some slew of pet names that I had for her. She looked like a little stuffed animal. She was the cutest little thing, but she was the biggest diva dog you could ever find. And very much like a diva dog. She would steal my hoodies and like want to wear my hoodies, not just like steal them to like go curl up. No, like she would bury herself in there to like where she was like almost wearing it. But I think one of the funniest things she ever did, and it was not a habit that I could break her of, was when she wanted me to get up, she would get up onto the pillow next to me, which she usually slept with me, which was not a big deal. But she would get on the pillow next to me and do the gargoyle, so like the creepy, like just sit there and stare at you kind of thing. And then if that didn't wake me up, she would smack me in the face with her paw. I mean, full on like whack. And so that would earn her a timeout snuggle. So I would just wrap her up and just snuggle her for a few minutes before finally getting up and doing whatever she wanted. But she was a funny little dog. Absolutely hilarious. Very much a diva.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, as far as my favorite fictional pet, Wishbone.
Okay.
100% Wishbone.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I was just telling somebody about Wishbone the other day.
I mean, you being a theater person, that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, but he was also a lover of books, and I'm a huge book person, and like how they got this little think it was a Jack Russell Terrier.
He was.
John
Yeah.
agrees with you. He's all about Wishbone.
I mean, come on. Wishbone also gave us Jensen Ackles. There was an episode with him in it.
Ackles was in that.
Yeah, he was in an episode. That was the first time I had seen him, and I think he was only in like the one episode. But I saw like some other thing later on with him in it. I'm like, I know that guy from somewhere. Where do I know him from? Checked up IMDb, and I'm like, Wishbone, of course, because I watched that religiously. So,
and the second one would be Binks from Hocus Pocus. So.
Okay.
Yeah, you stole my answer.
I'm sorry.
Well, you could go with what's the cat from Sabrina the Teenage Witch?
Salem. Yeah, Salem. You can't go wrong with
Saberhagen, but he wasn't actually a cat. He was a person.
He was a familiar
cat.
That show still has me occasionally calling Friday Fridya instead, because Salem tried to petition to have Friday changed to the name changed to Fridya in one of the episodes.
Yeah.
See, when I was thinking,
there's so many.
Yeah, I was like, Toothless would be awesome to have from How to Train Your Dragon. Stitch, yeah.
Stitch.
I mean, post rehabilitation Stitch, of course.
I mean, come on, you know you like that little chaotic blue guy.
I thought of Lockjaw from the Inhumans. Having a teleporting dog would be pretty fun. I mean, he'd be an escape artist. You couldn't keep him anywhere, but
yeah, you gotta find a way to curb that somehow.
And then when Shannon mentioned her pet hovering like a gargoyle, it made me think of Bronx from Gargoyles.
Oh
yeah.
I think all three of those would be fun to have as pets.
I mean, there's just so many fun animals that are in media. It makes it hard.
So, what do you have any thoughts, Shannon, on who you would take? Like you said, there's a ton.
There is so many, and of course, it's like, where do I start? and then there also comes a point of what constitutes a pet. Is it just animals?
Or can I pick Chewbacca?
Or
Chewbacca would not like being called a pet.
I think with the fact that there's a whole Wookiee civilization, they're not pets.
You can probably hear him right now.
But I was thinking like K9 from Doctor Who could be like a pet. Then, if you want to go onto like the horror side of things, is Thing from the Addams Family considered a pet? Because he's not quite human, but he's not.
I don't.
I
don't know what Thing's backstory
is. As a cousin, or is that just it that they refer to as a cousin?
Just it.
Okay.
Between those two,
I kind of always saw Thing as kind of like a family familiar.
Yeah.
Oh, so that could be a good discussion to have similar at some to like point. Salem. Are familiars considered pets?
There we go. Oh, look at the little orange guy.
Oh.
Hi, I'm Miko.
Hi, Miko.
I was being a pain, so Mom would pick me up.
That's okay. Miko just needed snuggles.
Now he's trying to.
So I did share briefly about my pet raccoon, but I would be remiss talking about pets and not talk about my pet bobcat that I had as a kid.
Oh, there you go.
Where did you grow up?
Florida.
Washington State.
Oh.
Okay.
So and I've mentioned on the podcast before, and I can't remember what all I've shared, but at the time I was 7 or 8. It was about we had the raccoon and the bobcat at the same time, actually, and they didn't care about the bobcat. They just cared about the raccoon when they came and took our raccoon away. So
it's the squirrel all over again.
Yeah.
Poor squirrel.
So
I don't remember what its name was, but I remember seeing it on the news.
Peanut? Was it Peanut the squirrel?
Peanut. Yeah, I think it was Peanut.
But yeah, so about 7 years old, my dad owned an automotive shop, and one of our customers came in with a bobcat on a leash. And so my dad talked to him, asked where they got it and everything, and decided we had to have one. And so we contacted these breeders that lived in Montana. They bred bobcats and they bred lynx. And so we drove the however many hours it was to get there from where we lived. Montana, it had to have been 16 or 17 hours. And so we drove there. We bought our bobcat, drove home, and we had our bob. It was very young. It was still to the point where we had to bottle feed it because it was young. Yeah, it was pretty adorable bottle feeding our little bobcat. And it was awesome. My dad built this giant cage in our backyard that connected to two corners of our house, and it was as tall. It went up to our roof, and so it was big enough that our whole family could go in the cage. So it's not like this tiny cage. It had one of those dog igloos in there with hay in it. It had a pond in there. Had a giant litter box that we had a tree there. Like it had all kinds of it was awesome.
It was set up.
Yeah, half of it was covered to keep him out of the elements if he chose, and it was also connected to two windows in the house: our living room window and my bedroom window. And so we could let him in through that, or there was a door on the outside as well.
So you're saying it was a catio?
Yeah.
And so there were so many different instances. Like we couldn't let him in during Christmas time into the living room because he would tackle our Christmas tree. He did it multiple times before. Like, yeah, we can't let you into the living room for Christmas. And we learned very quickly, do not try to pet him or touch him while he's eating. He was very, very protective. I guess he assumed we were trying to take his food or something, but he would nip and bite at you if you even just tried to pet him while he was eating. So don't mess with him while he's eating. He was very singular focused. Ironically,
I mean, do you really want somebody petting you while you eat?
I mean, fair.
I would probably whack you away too. Just saying.
Yeah.
Ironically, I wasn't even the only kid in my elementary school that had a pet bobcat. There was someone else who I don't know why his parents thought this was a good idea, but he brought his bobcat in for show and tell. The school quickly made a no bringing animals to school for show and tell policy after that, but he brought his bobcat in for show and tell. Him and I ended up on the same soccer team, which when we first joined the soccer team was the Golden Eagles, and then they changed it to the Bobcats because my friend would bring his bobcat on the sidelines. We did not bring ours, but they brought their bobcat to on the sidelines, and so it was a ton of fun. The same customers that my dad had that had bobcats had gotten some kittens. So they, at that point, I think had 3 bobcats. They were going out of town and asked us to babysit their kittens, the bobcat kittens. And we're like, okay. So we brought them home, and our bobcat treated him as if they were his own. Like, he absolutely loved
Oh.
them, watched after
Aw.
them. It was adorable. And it was so adorable, my dad was like, okay, well, we should get a kitten, like a normal kitten, because we weren't going to drive back to Montana to get another bobcat. So we got another kitten. That did not go well. He tried to kill that kitten like almost immediately. So we ended up
Aw.
rehoming the kitten. But you know, we talked earlier in the show about introducing pets to existing pets, and sometimes
Yeah.
there's just complete incompatibilities. It happens.
Yes.
Especially when
Happens
there's
with us
different,
humans.
yeah,
Oh.
especially when there's different species involved. So it was a very unique experience that I can look back on fondly. As an adult, I'm like, what was my dad thinking? But as a kid, I was like, this is great. This is fun. Our bobcat did get loose once.
Ooh.
We had 8-foot fences, and it, in one jump, up over the fence. It ended up going to the neighboring town before it was picked up by animal control, and he had apparently killed someone's pet goose.
Oh.
So we were very
Was it a
sad about
Canadian
that.
goose?
I don't know. And I, understandably so, animal control did not want to give us back our bobcat. But he fully collared, had tags. They called us, and we ended up getting our bobcat back. He never got loose again. But yeah, it was a fun experience. There was one time when we went on a road trip to visit my dad's family. Now, remember, I said we lived in Washington State. My dad's family lived in Pennsylvania. We brought our
Okay.
bobcat with
Cross
us
country.
in the car that entire way. Yeah, so we're
Which part
we're
of PA?
just outside of Philadelphia.
Oh,
And
okay.
so yeah, it was an interesting car trip, and our bobcat actually handled it pretty well. And we made sure to stop at rest stops and walk him around on his leash and whatnot and everything. Make sure he had plenty of time to stretch his legs. And my cousins were just enamored with the fact that we had a bobcat that we had brought and everything. Yeah, it was fun. That was definitely the most exotic animal I had growing up. Because well, you don't really beat something that you would find at a zoo. But yeah.
Yeah.
So
I would say I have definitely heard of people like finding bobcat kittens. I live in Iowa, so bobcats aren't common, but they are around. And they'll find a bobcat kitten and think they're adopting an actual kitten until it starts to grow up. And there are really strict rules. You can't keep them. But you can send them to like wildlife refuges and stuff like that if they can't be turned loose.
Yeah.
But
shortly after, so we ended up moving from Washington to Pennsylvania, and because we knew we were severely downsizing on yard space and everything, we ended up rehoming our bobcat to someone else who had another bobcat before we left. And my brain just lost where I was going with that. But it was just a ton of fun to have. But the biggest thing I would say when looking at it is the paws. The paws on a bobcat compared to paws on a regular cat, they're huge.
They're huge.
That's the
They're
huge
massive.
indicator. I remember where I was going with that. It's back. Shortly after we left, the city that we were at, because a decent amount of people had pet bobcats, they actually passed a city ordinance that you had to have a permit to have a bobcat as a pet.
Okay.
So yeah, it was they were becoming decently popular. So, yeah,
Yeah,
it was
there you
fun
go.
times.
Would you recommend somebody let their kid have a bobcat as a pet?
No. No, it was fun for us. I used to wrestle with him.
Mhm.
Like I said, we learned very quickly not to mess with him while he was eating. Mostly
Mhm.
because my dad did that and ended up needing stitches in his hand from getting bit.
Yeah.
So luckily it was my dad and not a kid, because that could have been way worse.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I do not recommend going into it with, especially with the limited knowledge that we had at the time, on because this was before the internet was that big. We didn't have the internet at home like a lot of people didn't, and so we didn't.
Mhm.
It's a cat. We treated it as a big cat, and
Mhm.
in a lot of ways, he actually had more mannerisms of a dog. It was like a dog mixed with a cat as far as mannerisms went.
Mhm.
But one of the weird things that I still don't understand is he absolutely loved to crawl up on you and just lick your hair. I and he had like sandpaper texture almost with it of his tongue, and so I don't know, he liked to climb up
It's the
on your
sweat.
shoulders and lick your hair. Oh, is that what it is?
It's the
Could be,
sweat.
yeah.
It's the salt in your sweat.
Mhm.
A lot of like the bigger cats like to like lick salty things. It's kind of like
Mhm.
almost like a soothing kind of thing to them, and yeah.
Yeah, my dad would sometimes bring him to work with him and just have him in the office, because I mean my dad owned the business, and so
Yeah.
people would walk in and
Well,
there'd
I
be
mean, you
a
can't argue
bobcat
with the
just
boss.
sitting on the counter.
I would say the most common exotic pet, other than maybe a raccoon, is a skunk where I live, and
Mm,
that's a big no for me. Thank you.
yeah, a
I
lot
live
of
in Florida,
people don't think. Oh,
so
yeah, there's all kinds of pets there.
I
With
live in
this
the same area as Tiger King. So let's just put it that way.
with a skunk, a lot of people have the gland removed that lets them spray, don't they?
Yeah, or they're kind of bred to not have it, from what I understand, though.
Oh, I didn't
Mm.
know
Um,
that was possible.
But they can have a nasty temperament.
yeah,
So
they're not nice animals to deal with.
they're more extreme than
So,
cats when it comes to the sassiness.
mhm.
Okay, man.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
mean, the moral of the story is, if you see a random cat on the side of the street, you don't necessarily want to bring it home, because it might not be a normal kitten. And with that,
Yeah.
No, see, I'm the type who will be like kitty to a tiger. So,
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
that,
I unfortunately am that white woman who's like, but it's cute and fluffy.
I
It,
want to cuddle it.
why friend shape if not friend?